Welcome to It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. Hope you are doing well. We are having just a little challenges here, but what are challenges, right? So again, this is It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach with your host, Sister A. Legree. It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach, Igbattmho.com, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. You can log on to our website at www.igbattmho.com. Again, our website, igbattmho.org or .com. You can find out more about us by giving us a call, 301-755-5463, or going on to our website at igbatt1@aol.com, or you can email us at igbatt1@aol.com. You can go into our website at igbatt.com, or as you see here on the screen, igbattmho.org. And today I wanted to talk about the importance of self-care. The importance of self-care, especially if you are an individual who fall in one or two categories. Number one, you're living with the symptoms of a severe and persistent mental illness as the individual, or you are a family member or loved ones who've been impacted by severe and persistent mental illness. Living with a severe and persistent mental illness, being impacted by severe and persistent mental illness can be challenging, it can be difficult, it's a long road. When we talk about severe and persistent mental illnesses, we're talking about those illnesses that are so severe and persistent that they impact all aspects of your life, of an individual's life, and they're persistent. So symptoms may ebb and flow. You have different phases that the illness may go through. When you talk about severe and persistent mental illness, we're almost always talking about medications being involved. Maybe not necessarily therapy, but medications definitely being involved. You're talking about just a whole lot of things. Untreated severe and persistent mental illness can lead to ongoing hospitalizations. It can lead to involvement with the police. It can or legal system. It can lead to just challenges at home, challenges in relationships. So it's a lot. But the self-care is so important. And self-care is whatever you do to take care of yourself. When we look at it from a biblical perspective, we look at spirit, soul, and body. It's important that we are feeding, that we're taking care of ourselves in those three particular areas, because the spirit, soul, and body makes up who we are. When we talk about self-care is not selfish. Self-care is taking care of ourselves and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do to stay healthy, so that we can be around to do those things that the Lord has given us to do, or that we can take care of our loved ones. When you talk about self-care, it's important to as far as from a physical standpoint. Are you getting, it's fine to go out and get your hair done, get your nails done, go to the mall, movies, all those things are great. But are you taking care of your health? When was the last time you had a primary care appointment? The last time you saw your primary care doctor? Are you taking your medications as prescribed? Okay. Are you eating right? Are you eating a balanced diet? Are we eating more sweets and sodas as opposed to drinking more water and eating more vegetables? Are we taking care of ourselves? Because all of these things are so important. Okay. When we talk about our health, I heard someone make a statement that health is wealth. And it's so important that we take care of ourselves, because if we're not good health-wise, all of the goals and all of the things that we want to do, we won't be able to do it, or it'll be difficult because we haven't taken care of ourselves. So it's important when you look at, okay, let me take care of myself, I need to do some self-care. Self-care should involve seeing a primary care doctor. It should involve getting a mammogram. It should involve, getting those things that we're supposed to get at certain times of our lives, or whatever those things are. Staying up to date with our wellness, a colonoscopy, whatever. Self-care involves taking care of ourselves. Self-care involves drinking more water. Self-care involves, going to bed at a certain time. Paying attention to our sleep, paying attention to what we eat, our habits, our smoking habits, our drinking habits. All of these we want to pay attention to when we're talking about self-care. Another part of self-care that we have to pay attention to is as far as our relationships. Okay, what are we doing with our relationships? Are we in fellowship with people who can support us. Not necessarily people that we're always giving out, or people we're always giving advice to, or people that are always taking from us. But do we have people in our lives where we can just go hang out, put your feet up, just kind of relax and just talk about anything, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be anything that heavy, but just something to to have a conversation with. What about relationships? Are we fellowshipping with people? God never intended for any of us to live our life in a vacuum. Fellowships are important. Fellowships, being around other people, finding that right community is so important. It's part of self-care. Okay? When was the last time you went out to dinner, or you went out to lunch, or you did something different than what you're doing? Right? Sometimes we can get into a rut and don't realize that we're in a rut. We're going to work the same way. We're dressing the same way. We're looking the same way. We're not doing anything different. So we have to pay attention to our self-care. More importantly, spiritually. How are we taking care of ourselves spiritually? Okay, are we praying? Are we spending time reading? Are we spending time, listening to things that are uplifting? What are we doing? Self-care is so important, because without that self-care, without us taking care of ourselves, it'll be hard for us to take care of our loved ones, or to do the things that we need to do. What are we doing to take care of ourselves? So today I wanted to spend some time just talking about the importance of self-care, because we can be so focused, especially if you're in the caregiver role. You could be in the caregiver role and you're so focused on taking care of your loved one and making sure that they go to the doctor, that they take their medications, that that the kids have their homework, and that they eat, and all the things that you're supposed to do as a parent. We can be so focused on that we forget about the internal things, or we could become so focused getting our hair, nails done. Nothing wrong with that, but there's more to self-care than just that, because you may be getting your hair and nails done, but the entire time that you're at the beauty salon, that you're getting your feet done, you're on the phone, you're handling business, you're worried about what's going on at home. So it's really not a break, it's really not a self-care. You need some moment where you can get away, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and get away, not necessarily a long vacation, but it could just be driving from home to work. Hopefully it's more than that, but some people can't do that. I just want you to see that self-care doesn't have to be, a 2-week trip in Hawaii, even though that would be great. It doesn't have to be spend a whole lot of money at a spa. Self-care could just be going somewhere to a free park, that doesn't cost anything. It could be going somewhere to a museum. It could be by yourself, just getting away, and just relaxing, recentering. Okay, it's so important to do that, because you can keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny, and not realizing that you're not taking care of yourself as you should. Okay, you're not. One thing about stress. When we're living with severe and persistent mental illness, again, either as the person with the illness or the caregiver, we can be, there's stress. Stress is anything good or bad, right? Even though, we got it down to the science where, I know when this disappointment is, I know when I have to take my medications, I know when I have to do this, we got it down to a science, but we're, again, so focused on that we're not taking care of ourselves. And I asked that question: when was the last time you saw your primary care doctor? If you haven't done so this year, you need to make an appointment, or you should. When was the last time you had a good meal? When was the last time you drank some water? When was the last time you exercised? And again, exercise doesn't have to be, joining a gym or going to a marathon. Exercise could be just walking around the block, or walking around your house, walking down the steps, and being intentional about it. When was the last time you did something to take care of yourself? Again, there is more to you. There's more to us than just the things that we have to deal with, right? There's more to you than the illness, right? There's more to you than the hallucinations, the delusions, than the depression. Then there's more to you than those things, right? There's more to you. There is a life for you to live. As I always say before, the illness is not the problem. The illness is not what's holding us back. What is holding us back is what we think, our perception of the illness. Because having an illness doesn't mean that you can't get married, doesn't mean that you can't have children, doesn't mean that you can't have fun in life, you can't travel, you can't enjoy your life, you can't have a job. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means you may have to move slower. It means you may have to take frequent breaks. It means you may have to, may need extra assistance in certain areas, but having an illness is not holding you back. What's holding us back is what we think about the illness. If we think, if we tell ourselves, because I have this particular illness, because I hear voices, because I see things sometimes, because of, whatever the illness is, then I'll never make it, or I won't amount to much, or things will never work out for me. That is what's holding us back. It's our negative thoughts, it's our negative feelings. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors go together. When we start thinking negatively, we start feeling negatively, we start behaving in ways that are contrary to positivity. So again, it's important for you to self-care. You are worthy of self-care. Just because you're diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness, or your loved one is diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness, doesn't mean that this has to be your entire life. Right? This does not have to be your entire life. You can move forward in life. You can do things. You can have fun. You can get out. You are designed to live your life just like everybody else lives their life. You may have an illness, as I said, that may slow you down, but it doesn't have to stop you. So taking care of yourself is so important. How many times or how many stories that I've heard of where a person goes in to see the doctor, and the doctor tells them that they have some other kind of disease, maybe it's cancer, and it's so advanced. Well, how did it get to be so advanced? Well, because sometimes it's because the person never went to see the doctor. If you would have saw the doctor a year ago, maybe there would have been something that could have been done. But because the situation has gotten so far, it's extreme. It's hard to do something about. It's important to take care of your health. That's the number one thing. If I can leave you with, when we're talking about self-care, is taking care of your health. Drinking more water, eating more vegetables, seeing your primary care doctor and following the directions that he or she gives you, right? Following up on the tests, whatever it is that, the things that we have to take care of ourselves. Our physical health is more important than how we look, right? Our physical health, because you can look like $1,000,000, right? And still physically not be able to walk up the steps without getting out of breath, right? Physically, you could be not where we need to be weight-wise, right? So again, it's important to take care of ourselves. When we talk about self-care, again, spirit, soul, and body. We need to take care of our health. We need to make sure that we're up to date on our appointments, our medical routine appointments that we're supposed to have, colonoscopy, pap smear, et cetera, et cetera. So we make sure that we're up to date on those things. We want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves spiritually. Spiritually, are we reading? Are we praying? Are we, just taking some time just to think? Right? Getting by ourselves and just thinking. What are we doing to feed ourselves spiritually? Are we around other people who can support us? Around other people who can feed us? Are we taking some time just to kind of reflect on where we are in life and our goals, and just taking a minute to kind of do that? Or do we feel that we have to be doing something every minute? There are some of you out there who you get pleasure in being the person that everybody calls. Oh, they always call me. They always call me. You act like you're God. You act like you have to be there for everyone else. You act like, that if you don't do it, it just won't get done. And I'm going to tell you that's not true. Because if you were to drop dead this moment, you'd be surprised how quickly people would move on without you. You'd be surprised how quickly people would find a way to move on without you. You would be so surprised. But some of us, we get our self-esteem from that. We draw our self-esteem from having people always needing us. We get our self-esteem from people always calling our names and always, just wanting us to, like we'll say, oh, I'm just so tired of people calling me all the time. But we put ourselves in a situation where people can call us all the time. That's not healthy. That is not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the individual. We need to take care of ourselves. What are your goals? What was your plan in life? Before things got off track, before you realized that you were diagnosed with a mental illness, a severe and persistent mental illness, before your loved one was diagnosed with a persistent mental illness, what was the plan? What did you want to do with your life? It's so important that we don't get so caught up and the negative things in our lives, that we don't get so caught up in our illness, in our, things that we have to do, that we forget about living. Jesus Christ said, I've come that we might have life and life more abundantly. It's hard to have life more abundantly if you're not taking care of your health. If you're out of breath, even going 5 steps, right? It's important that we're taking care of ourselves, that we're watching what we eat, we're watching what we drink, that we're around positive people. So again, this is just a short message to talking about the importance of self-care. Take care of yourself. You don't want to be so consumed by your illness, so consumed by the medication, so consumed by your symptoms that you forget that you are a person. You are a person, yes, that may be living with schizophrenia. Yes, your loved one is a person who may be living with bipolar, but you are still people. And as a person, you still have dreams, you can still meet your goals, you can still laugh, you can still smile, you still need to take care of yourself. So again, this has been It's Getting Better All the Time, Mental Health Outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. You can find out more about us by logging on to our website at igbattmho